Hello, and thanks for joining this webinar about how to build cybersecurity training and awareness or training and awareness program. Yeah, so let's just wait a minute for everyone to join. And while we're waiting, just if you can let me know where you're joining from, I would be grateful just to see where all the people are coming from. I'm calling in from Zagreb, Croatia. So if you can just let me know city and the country where you're coming from. If you join through Zoom, you can actually send this through this Q&A pane. So this is the best way to send it. If you are joining through YouTube or LinkedIn, you can send it through the chat window. Okay, I see Lisbon from Portugal, South Africa, Netherlands, great. Okay, all over the world. Albania, great. Okay, lots of people. Denmark, Oslo, Norway. Okay, excellent. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, while we're waiting for everyone to join, just two notes. First of all, we are recording this webinar, and you'll be able to watch the webinar from the same page where basically where you registered for this webinar. So if you registered for this webinar through Advisera website, then on the same page you will actually be able to see the recording. If you registered on YouTube or LinkedIn, then again on the same pages you will see the recording. Second thing, you'll be able to download the presentation deck, and basically at the end of the webinar, I'll let you know where you can download where you can find the link for downloading the PDF presentation deck. So if you can stick to the end, I'll be explaining you how to do this. Okay, let me see if anyone else. Okay, so from Belgium, we also have someone from Tunisia. Okay, very well. So great. A couple of lots of people are sending their whereabouts. Good. So yeah, let me start now. So welcome to the webinar, How to Build a Cybersecurity Training and Awareness Program. And my name is Dejan Kosutic, and I'm the main ISO 27001 NIS2 and DORA expert at Advisera. And Advisera is a company that makes compliance easy to understand and simple to use. And this webinar today is, as I mentioned, streamed through Zoom, also LinkedIn Live events and YouTube Live. And it will last approximately 50, maybe 60 minutes, and I'll try to make it as interactive as possible. So you can ask any question you want during my presentation, and you can actually send your question even as I go through my slides. You can send the question. I'll try to answer even before the Q&A session, and the Q&A session of course will be at the end. Okay, I see some people sending me messages. Chat is disabled. So yes, if you joined through Zoom, chat is disabled, but you can send any questions through this Q&A pane. All right, let me go for the next slide. Okay, so basically this, I mean, why is this topic important? It's important because from most people I've spoken to, this training and awareness is usually a big challenge, and most of them are struggling with lots of things. I'll actually show you a top 4 challenges that people typically have, and in most cases, unfortunately, this training and awareness doesn't really work properly. So what I'll show you in this webinar today is how to organize this training and awareness to make it actually really work, so that you make a couple of larger or smaller improvements to actually make it something that is really much more appropriate and much more, I would say, acceptable for your employees. And yeah, this webinar today is intended for any companies. So if you're working as a project manager in a company or a CISO in a company, so it doesn't matter whether you implement, I don't know, ISO 27001 or SOC 2 or NIS2 or DORA or whatever framework that you might be implementing. Basically, this kind of these techniques that I'll show you today will be valid for any of these cybersecurity programs. Okay, so basically my main point today is that using a couple of, I would say, easy, I wouldn't say they're easy, but relatively simple techniques, it's actually possible to improve this cybersecurity training and awareness. and not only improve it slightly, but actually significantly improve it and actually make it much more effective, much better. And of course, as the majority of this presentation today is, what are these techniques actually that you can use. Okay, so let's see the agenda for today. First, actually, I'll start with these biggest challenges with training and awareness. And by the way, usually this is my last topic in this kind of webinars, but today I'm going to start with these challenges because I've built this webinar, with this in mind, how to resolve these main challenges. And then I'll show you these three main ways to address these challenges. The first one actually here, this is the next slide, selecting audiences and topics. The second one will be about creating interesting materials. And the third one will be to choose actually what kind of delivery channels you need. This will be the majority of the webinar. And by the way, if you want me to actually focus on any of these topics that I'm listing now in the agenda, let me know through this Q&A pane or chat window, and then I'll try to spend more time on these topics. I'll also cover this topic of training versus awareness. So what are the differences there, and also how do these techniques that I'm going to explain throughout the webinar, how are they actually applicable to training and how are they applicable to awareness raising. Okay, good. Let me now go for these biggest challenges. And actually, let me share the screen from the. This is the poll I posted on LinkedIn like a week ago, and yeah, the question was, what are the biggest challenges when building a cybersecurity training and awareness in your company? And yeah, something like 30 votes, not bad. And basically, overwhelmingly, this overcoming employee resistance is the main challenge, 70% of the answers. So obviously, this is really, it seems to be really the most important challenge that people have. Okay, going back to presentation. So this is number one, and by the way, you'll see these 4 challenges here, and I've also made these challenges not only based on that LinkedIn poll, but also on based on your emails that you've sent me prior to this webinar. And thank you for sending these emails. I received quite a lot of them. I tried to kind of group them, and I came up with these 4 groups. Okay, so the first challenge is overcoming employee resistance. Basically, this means that employees are simply not finding time. They find it, not interesting. They find it, whatever. They find all kinds of reasons not to actually to go through these cybersecurity training on awareness, and they find it boring, and so on and so forth. So basically, these are kind of most common challenges. Now, there is a difference between employees who understand that security is, let's say, part of their job, and these are basically these are the employees that belong to this first group. They know that security is part of their job, but still they don't like this security awareness and training. They simply think this is not necessary. Whereas a second group of people is that those that simply consider that security is simply not their job. Okay, they say, okay, I work, I don't know, in accounting. I don't care about security. This is IT, right? And I'm not IT. I'm accounting. So the second concern, and this is actually why I separated here, is that there are people who simply think that security is not part of their work. Therefore, it's completely irrelevant. So this security awareness training, awareness or training is completely irrelevant for them. The third challenge is lack of senior management support, which then reflects on lack of resources, lack of budget, lack of time, lack of everything. So basically, this is this lack of usually comes from a lack of senior management, lack of senior management support, and then. The fourth challenge is once you actually do deliver these training and awareness programs, how to change actually the behavior of employees. So are these lessons, whatever you're presenting, do they make an impact? Do they really introduce ultimately some kind of a security culture? Okay, so these are basically the challenges. Of course, there are many other challenges. I'm not saying that these are all the challenges. I've just tried to group them. Jay is sending a message with, and basically he's saying things that you can shed some insight. First, security training related funding, and second, selecting proper training service providers. Okay, let me come back to these questions a little bit later. Yeah, towards the end of the webinar, I'll answer these kind of questions. So let me now go through these challenges. And basically, the way I see, or these three techniques that you actually might use to address these challenges are the following. Now, just as a kind of an intro here, I do not think that these three are the ultimate three, that nothing else in the world exists. This is only my impression of that you can use these three as maybe the most helpful. But of course, there are other techniques that you can use to actually address these challenges that I presented in the previous slide. So don't consider this as the ultimate list of three. This is, let's say, only my impression of what might be the let's say most useful things to do to address the challenges. Anyway, the first let's say technique is to select relevant topics for particular audiences, because it's very hard to push let's say the topic of I don't know, top level cybersecurity governance to someone who has nothing to do with, let's say, this top level setting the top level, for example, objectives or something like this. So if we speak about top level objectives, then for security, then this is something that will be relevant for let's say your senior management, but it's certainly not going to be relevant for someone who works in the accounts department. Okay, so you have to actually define what are the relevant topics for relevant audiences if you actually want to address those challenges. So this is the what technique. Now the next technique is how, and basically this one is about making materials interesting, because if they're boring, if they're too long, if they're I don't know whatever, if they are not interactive, then it's going to be very hard to make people interested in these kind of materials. And the third one is about where, and this is really about channels. So what kind of channels are you using? And as you will see, I definitely recommend that you have either in-person trainings where you actually have a live trainer that is delivering these trainings, or that you have videos. And this basically means that other types of let's say training materials, like having I don't know, PDF materials or PowerPoint slides without a trainer, I don't think these are very effective. But now I'll actually go through each one of them in much more detail, so that you see actually my reasoning behind these three. So anyway, three techniques: the where, how, and the what, how, and where. Okay, now let's go one by one. The first one is about selecting audiences and topics, the what. And to actually come to right I would say mapping between audiences and topics, you have to go through these 5 steps. And the first step is really to check regulatory requirements. So if you need to comply with NIS2, or you need to comply with DORA, or you actually go for ISO 27001, typically they will have certain requirements on what people need to know. For example, let's say DORA and NIS2 specify that basically senior management, but also all the employees have to go through some kind of a security awareness training, whereas for example DORA specifies that senior management need to be trained in risk management techniques, right? So basically you have to read what these laws or regulations or standards are specifying, and then this will be part of your input into selection of audiences and topics. Second, you have to address the risks. So basically once you actually see that there are, let's say, some types of risks that are the highest in your company, then you actually have to place more emphasis in raising awareness and training for that part of the company. This could be, I don't know, a department, this could be a part of your IT system, this could be, I don't know, whatever, a product. But if you see that there are, you know, higher risks in that particular area, then you will actually take this into account when selecting the topics and audiences. The third step is to, of course, go through your internal policies and procedures. For example, if you have, I don't know, risk management methodology, and this risk management methodology needs to be used by, let's say, heads of departments, then obviously you will have to train heads of your departments on how to perform risk management, because you can't really expect that, you know, only reading one document will, you know, make them let's say masters in risk management. It's not, right? So you need additional training there. So again, read through all the documents, and this will also give you a clue on who needs to know what, and therefore you can actually decide how you do it. And then you actually start to define target groups. So after you go through these first steps, then you will actually have a clear idea on what these groups might be, and actually I have a next slide for that. And then after you have these target groups, then you can actually select the topics. In other words, you know, selecting target groups and topics doesn't just, you know, come out of nothing. It has to actually go through this kind of analysis, and then it will be much clearer on what you have to do. So let's go to the next slide and give you a couple of ideas for, let's say, defining target groups. For example, for regulatory requirements, okay, let's say this is DORA. Let's say that you have, again, risks. So let's say that you are having a specific risks for your, I don't know, transactional system in your bank. Okay, let's say the highest risks are there. Obviously, then you'll have to train the people who are working on this particular system, that you will have to train them around these risks and how to overcome these risks. And of course, you will have to read through internal rules. So as I mentioned, you might have this risk assessment methodology, and you will have to train people around this particular topic. You will have to train your mid-level managers, or I don't know, heads of the departments, because they need to know how to manage risks. And then, for example, as examples of target groups, you could have, for example, IT employees. Okay, and then you say, okay, for IT employees, we need to, let's say, do a certain type of training. So you actually consider them as one group. Of course, if you're a smaller company, then you can, you know, take into account all IT employees. You might have, I don't know, only a couple of them. If you're a large company of a couple of thousand employees, then you might have a couple of hundred employees working as IT employees. And when I say IT, I mean people working in, I don't know, software development, people working in, let's say, some kind of DevOps or something. So basically, then in a large company, you might actually have separate departments with different profiles of IT employees, and then you might have different groups for, let's say, IT related employees. You might have a separate target group for mid-level management. You might have a separate target group for, let's say, all the remaining employees. So the employees that are not IT related, that are not, let's say, in, I don't know, mid-level or senior management, these kind of things. You might also have suppliers as a target group, because, for example, specifically DORA specifies that financial entities need to also take care of training and awareness for their suppliers. So not only for their internal employees, but also for suppliers, right? So in this case, one of the groups that you have to define is obviously suppliers as well. Okay, now let's see a couple of examples for defining training topics. Again, you have to go through these steps, you know, defining regulatory requirements, so see exactly what the regulations are requiring. I've given you this example of, I don't know, DORA requiring risk management for senior management. Again, you have to go through risks. If you have particular risks that are higher in a particular area, again, this is then the topic that you have to cover through your training. Again, you have to go through your internal rules. And then you will define the topics. And actually, I have two examples here, two articles that suggest some training topics for NIS2 and for DORA. So let me switch the screen and show you these articles. So this article is about how to perform training and awareness according to NIS2. NIS2, if you didn't know, this is this EU directive for cybersecurity. And here you have some suggestions, right? Topics for all employees. So the basics of NIS2, basic cyber hygiene, incident handling, backup, business continuity, use of multi-factor authentication. And then you have some other topics, and these are directed here at IT employees and security managers. So here you might have this top-level policy, disaster recovery, security, network and information system acquisition, and so on. Policies regarding cryptography and encryption, access control, asset management. So as you can see, these are really IT related topics, and obviously they are directed towards IT employees working in IT departments. Then you have these topics that are specific only for security managers, you know, like steps for NIS2 compliance, how is NIS2 related to 27001, and so on. I don't know, government bodies defined in NIS2. And then you might have some topics for senior management, you know, what are essentially important entities, what are the main requirements, approving, overseeing cybersecurity risk management measures, crisis management, and so on. So as you can see, these topics here are I would say, chosen based on particular groups of people that actually might be interested, not might be interested, that are relevant for these people. And by the way, we've shared with you now the link to this article and the next article that I'll show you in the chat window. If you open this chat window, you will see these two articles. So the first one is how to perform training and awareness according to NIS2, and the second one is according to DORA. And you can actually, if you joined the webinar through Zoom or if you joined through YouTube, then you can simply click these links and they will open in your browser. But if you join through LinkedIn, then because of some limitations in LinkedIn, you can't really click these links, but you can actually copy the URL and paste it into your browser, and then it will open right there. This is the article about the NIS2. Let's see the article about DORA. It's even more, let's say, structured, so to say. So let me skip this part. And yeah, you can actually see several different audiences that you might have. And then there is a table which actually shows you for each of these audiences what kind of topics you could cover. So for example, what is DORA regulation? Basically it's relevant for all of these, okay? And by the way, as you can see, the last one is IT service providers, because again, this is mandatory by DORA that financial entities organize the training for them. What are the main requirements specified in DORA? Obviously, this is not important for IT employees or other employees or IT service providers, but it's very important for senior management, security managers, and mid-level management, right? Let's see some other examples here. Okay, why should ICT suppliers go for 27001 and 22301? This is obviously important for IT service providers, but also for security managers in financial entities. Okay, but not for everyone else. You're not going to present this to your senior management, right? And so on and so forth. So you can actually see here examples of several topics. As you can see, lots of them. And by the way, this is because DORA and these regulatory technical standards are very complex, and therefore, you need to actually cover all of these. Yeah. Okay, right. Let me go back to my presentation. Yeah, so you can click these links and then read this for yourself after the webinar. And we also share now a link with you to a YouTube video. And in this YouTube video, actually, I explain how to implement this training and awareness program for a SaaS company or a tech company, right? So you can actually see, if you prefer video format, you can learn a little bit more about, for 27001 and specifically SaaS companies. Okay, so these couple of slides were about this what actually to basically present, what kind of topics, what kind of audience. And now let's go to this second technique that I was explaining. This is about how. And this is basically about creating interesting materials. So how do you actually basically create these materials? Okay, so there are a couple of techniques that you could use. For example, I always prefer the simplification of everything. So whenever we create any materials in Advisera, we always try to explain, you know, any kind of complex topic using a very simple language. And by the way, our mission here in Advisera is, you know, explain complex frameworks in easy to understand language and make them simple to use, right? So I think this simplification is crucial if you want to explain, especially these kind of heavy topics like cybersecurity. You don't want to use some very technical language, because then no one will really understand what you're saying. Besides that, you should tell stories, because people remember stories, right? If you simply, you know, speak about something very theoretical, people tend to forget these things. But if you really use real stories about, I don't know, recent big breaches, like, okay, in the last couple of months you have this big breach at this auto car manufacturer Jaguar, right? The Jaguar Land Rover, I think, where actually they had, I think, a couple of $2 billion of damage there. But if you also speak about some positive examples that are known with regards to security, you know, for me, Apple is always a very good and positive example how they, I would say, integrated security and privacy in their products, and therefore made them even more attractive for people to buy their products. And by the way, I noticed most security people are using Apple products. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the point is, you know, you don't have to use only negative, but also you can use positive examples, and you can use also internal stories. Internal stories like basically what happened badly in your company because of cybersecurity, or what happened, again, good because of your cybersecurity. You might have, I don't know, you might have implemented ISO 27001, and you might have gotten new clients because of this standard. So again, this would be a positive example. Anyway, the more of these stories in your training materials, the better. The next one is micro-learning. So especially if you are delivering some kind of an online training, you know, don't make it longer than 5 minutes. It's simply, first of all, it's usually not necessary, especially if you, so I'm not saying that the whole training has to be only 5 minutes, but actually divide it into lessons, right? So let's say that you need a total duration of a training of, let's say, 3 hours. Then divide it into lessons of, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, you will have 20 or 30 lessons, but people don't have to go through them at once. You know, they can go through the, let's say, one lesson per week, and then, you know, 5 minutes per week, it's doable. But, you know, I don't know, 3 hours in 2 days, or in 1 day, it's not usually not doable. So make it short so that people can digest this kind of lessons in a more quicker way and easier way. And we'll also share now with you a link to my other video, which speaks about this micro learning and this, let's say, 5-minute videos and why they work good. Okay, next thing that next, let's say, technique that I think it's important is interaction. I mean, or let's say next characteristic of making these materials interesting is interaction. So make as much interaction as possible. So on the very, let's say, the easiest way is really to make quizzes, you know, but you can also make some simulations. Of course, nowadays you can use AI chatbots to make even some kind of deeper interaction with students. So all of these things are possible so that you can actually make these materials that you're creating more interesting. And also you can make them more relaxed. Why not using some humor in them? Cybersecurity doesn't have to be always so serious and so, I don't know, so boring. You can simply use, okay, you can use some memes, right? Especially if you're targeting younger audience, you can use some comics, whatever. So, make it more lively, make it more human. And this will certainly be, I would say, good and well accepted. Okay, so these are a couple of suggestions on making these materials interesting, and this is about how. And so let's see now this where concept or where technique. And as I mentioned, I would suggest that you don't write textual materials. If you go for some kind of a training, that you're not basing this training or on textual materials, rather try to make them either in person or through video. In person, of course, it's okay. Let me actually go through these options, and I can present you this by going through the options. Okay, the first option A here, is to go through this instructor-led in-classroom training. So this is the most traditional way. You basically have a classroom, you have the instructor or presenter, and then this person basically presents whatever he or she needs to present. Why is this better? Because obviously this person can then answer any questions right away, and this interaction can be much, let's say, better, much more rich, right? And this is where usually the audience usually responds the best. Usually they have questions, especially if the instructor is, I would say, engaging. And then as option B, you have this instructor-led online training. This is also a training done in real time, but this time it's not done in a classroom. This time it's done through, let's say, a Zoom meeting or through, I don't know, Microsoft Teams or some similar platform. Again, there is the good about this is that actually you can do it. You can achieve a higher level of interaction. Of course, the problem here is that it's not as interactive. It's not that people are feeling so engaged when compared to the, let's say, in-classroom training. And the third option is that you have simply pre-recorded online training, so online videos via LMS. LMS stands for Learning Management System. The downside there is that there is no interaction with the real person. But basically the advantage here is that it's much easier to organize this kind of a training, right? Because if you have pre-recorded videos, it's much easier to organize this rather than have I don't know, a classroom with the instructor, or even a Zoom call. If you have an online call, you still need to have all the people at the same time, at exactly the same time, which is very often a challenge. So the question here is, which of these approaches to choose, and this really depends. And I'll actually go through these 4 criteria through which you can actually see what would be better. The first one is if this was a regular or one-time training. If this is something that is only one time, then it's going to be easier to organize something that is instructor-led. Whereas if this is something regular, ongoing, then it will be easier to have online videos. Also, the question is about required engagement. If the training itself needs to go really, really in depth, then you would need higher engagement from the students, and then you should tend to go towards these instructor-led trainings. So, for example, if you are, I don't know, training your employees on some specific techniques on, for example, risk management, it might actually be better to do it through instructor-led training. But if this was security awareness training, which doesn't really require too much, let's say, in-depth engagement, then you can do online videos as well. Also, the question of number of attendees or students. If you have only a couple of them, well, you can rather easily organize instructor-led training. But if you have hundreds of them or thousands of them, then obviously you'll have to go for an online solution. And it's also a question of locations, right, and time zones. If everyone is in the same location, then it will be easier to organize this instructor-led in-classroom training. If everyone is in the same time zone, let's say in Europe, then it will be doable to organize instructor-led online training, even though that these people are in different countries. But if people are scattered all over the world, then it's going to be very hard to organize everything or anything besides the pre-recorded online training. In this case, this pre-recorded online will probably be the easiest one to organize. Okay, so basically these were these three techniques, the what and how and where. And now let's see how they actually address these challenges. So, okay, so here in this first column you see these four challenges: overcoming employee resistance, security is not my concern, lack of senior management support, and finally this changing behavior or introducing security culture. So the what technique, again, just as a reminder, this is to select relevant topics for a particular audiences. And basically, if you do select these relevant topics for relevant audiences, this actually might influence or address part of this challenge. Because if, I don't know, let's say mid-level management or heads of the departments see that you actually require them to only go through the training which is relevant, especially for their work, then you will actually reduce at least partially this resistance from these employees. Again, following up on this what technique, again, selecting the relevant topics in particular audiences, if you actually approach the audience which says that security is not their job, but the training actually explains them, you basically tell them, look, but this training will explain you exactly how security is your job and how you actually have to pay attention to security, then you will address at least a part of this challenge number 2. When it comes to lack of senior management support, and if the senior management actually sees that you actually select only the relevant topics to relevant employees, they will actually understand that, first of all, this will decrease the cost of this training, because they won't, because they will know that you're not suggesting that everyone goes through everything, so the cost will be lower. But also when it comes to them personally, I mean, the senior management obviously will be also affected when they see that they will only go through the topics which are relevant for them as senior management. This will also make it easier for them to actually support this kind of training program. And ultimately, when it comes to this fourth challenge of changing behavior and introducing a security culture, again, the more you actually target the right audience with the right topics, the more chances actually you will have to somehow affect their behavior. Okay, let's now go for this second column about how. So how meaning create interesting materials. So if you do create interesting materials, overcoming employee resistance will be easier. Again, I'm not saying that this will resolve the whole problem, but again, this will resolve a part of this problem. Interesting materials probably not going to have impact on those who say that security is not their concern. If they don't care, they don't care. Also, senior management, I'm not sure if this will influence senior management support, but it probably would influence, changing the behavior because the more interesting you actually make these materials, the more likely they will actually impact the real behavior of people after these trainings. And then the last column is about where, and this is really about having the right channels, or in particular this in-person or video format. And here, so you basically have this overcoming employee resistance. So yes, the more, let's say this, if you have a real person speaking to them, it's going to be easier to overcome this resistance. Also, if they watch videos, it's much more interesting than, let's say, having just, a PDF, a large PDF document. So it's usually it's this this kind of channels, either in person or videos, are actually good for this. Again, for these guys who say that security is not their concern, it doesn't really matter for them through which channel you deliver this. Lack of senior management support. So basically, if you especially if you go for channels that do not cost much, if you go for this, let's say this online training, this is usually the cheapest option to organize a training. If you actually show that these kind of training programs don't cost much, then this could also address this problem of lack of senior management support. And finally, this changing behavior, especially if you have, again, let's say in-person training, very often, you could, I would say with very good presentation, this could actually stimulate people to change how they're behaving. Okay, good. So I'm not sure if you agree or disagree with me about these challenges and about these three techniques and actually what can influence what. Let me know if how you like this and whether you agree with this or not. But again, from my experience, it seems to me that these things can help. Are these three techniques going to resolve all the problems? No, but I think it seems to me that kind of an ROI here, return on investment, is good because all of these three don't really require too much of an investment, but you can have a good return there. Okay, let me see some questions that came in. Carlos is asking, the training content should be the same for different groups. No, definitely not. So training content you should adapt for different audiences. So you're not going to display the same training lessons for, I don't know, senior management and for your accounts department. Definitely not. Good. Pedro was asking, will you share the info shared during this webinar in the end? So yeah, you will be able to download the presentation deck. I'll tell you at the end how to do it. And yeah, you can, take these links that we are sharing and open them. Susie is asking additional question on the how on materials. Do you find that learning together in smaller groups let people remember better, apply it easier afterwards? And then continues the question. I think people remember better when they have discussed or they aid each other keeping it present and alive. Yes, I definitely agree with you. So when you have, for example, when we do these courses, we have these online courses in Advisera, for, let's say, lead audit or lead implementer, these kind of things. And then we have these online lessons, which are basically, only watching videos, but then we also organize these online workshops. And in these online workshops, we actually expect the people to discuss everything that they need regarding the, I don't know, lead audit or lead implementer course. And this is actually how they learn better. And I agree fully with you. So whenever there is interaction between the attendees, and especially if you can organize some kind of a workshop for them, then this will certainly influence the success of this kind of a training. Trevor is saying senior management may buy in to a cheap option, but they would also restrict the time and personnel, may believe that business must be first and then support the controls. Yes. When you actually, you have to be careful when you speak to the senior management, and you actually have to show them directly the, return on investment there in cybersecurity training, because I would approach it in the following way. First, I would make sure that the senior management sees the value in, for example, ISO 27001. And basically, I would discuss with them, okay, if you want to get, I don't know, new clients, or if you want to let's say, keep your existing clients, then you have to get certified, because otherwise, these clients will never come or the existing ones will leave, right? So this is the first thing, they have to realize. And then second thing they have to realize, okay, in order for us to get certified, we have to do this and this and this and this, right? And then one of these things that they have to do, the company needs to do, is to actually organize training and awareness, because without it, it's not going to work, right? So you have to present this training and awareness as one of the essential components of this thing that they want to achieve, let's say 27,001 certification. So I would say this kind of a two-step process is needed for if you want your senior management to understand why this is needed. Okay, Sieda is asking, lack of senior management support, what and where is also hard to address? I'm not sure if I understand the question. Jay is asking, one of the things we did is creating internal forum to discuss security related issues and training materials that is very effective to create a vibrant security awareness culture. Yeah, I mean, regarding internal forums, yes, if you can actually make people ask questions there and discuss. Unfortunately, in most companies, there is no such security culture that people would spend time actually engaging in these kind of online forums. I mean, internal forums. If you can do it, this is great. In my view, this means that you already have a very good security culture in a company. Okay, G is asking, how would you measure effectiveness of the training? Behavior change takes a lot of time. Using measurement of actual improvements can be useful to monitor. Okay, there are some basic measures like the number of attendees, these kind of things. Okay, you can then have a little bit more advanced techniques like the number of questions that people ask at the training. Also, you can test them after the training and see actually what are their results on the understanding. But okay, these are all things that I would say are very easy to kind of come up with. And then you can actually test what is the impact in real life. You can actually test if you actually have reduced the number of security incidents, or if you reduce the number of non-conformities. So then these measurements, other measurements, so measurements that are not directly related to training, these other measurements are, I would say, they require a more creativity because they measure the impact indirectly, okay? So again, number of incidents, number of non-conformities, these kind of things could be, let's say, indirect measure of the success of the training. You could have also, I don't know, whenever there is a non-conformity, you have to actually perform this root cause analysis. And whenever you do perform this root cause analysis, you can actually see if the training was or lack of training was part of the problem, right? So this could also be a way to measure indirectly the whole thing. Okay, good. Now let me go to this next slide, and this is about training versus awareness. Yeah, let me see. I hope we will make everything in time. What is training and what is awareness? So basically training explains how to perform certain activities. So the emphasis here on the how, and it's targeted usually towards a smaller number of people. An example could be, let's say, internal auditor training. So if you go for ISO 27001, you have to train an internal auditor and send this person for internal auditor training. As opposed to this, awareness explains why activities are needed. Here the emphasis is on why. And usually this is targeted towards a larger number of people. And example could be, let's say, awareness session around security of mobile devices. Okay. Now the point here is that all of these techniques that I explained before about defining the target audiences, about making materials more interesting. Basically, all of these things are also applicable to both training and awareness. So even though training and awareness are, I would say, essentially different types of training and awareness, I mean, different types of activities, still all of these three techniques that I mentioned before, they're applicable to them. Okay, now, and we'll actually share with you now the link to this article, How to Perform Training and Awareness for ISO 27001. And yeah, you can take a look at this article as well. Okay, let me show you now. We have developed this company training academy in Advisera. I'm not sure if you've seen this before. But basically, this is our product that helps companies organize training and awareness within their companies. And yeah, we follow a couple of, let's say, most important rules here. I mean rules, the ideas here. So you can actually see first the lessons library. Let me show you this. So here, when you actually go for these filters, you see that we cover, that we have videos. Okay, I didn't mention this, but everything is video related here. So we have more than something like 300 or 400 videos here on different topics, and as you can see, we cover DORA, GDPR, general cybersecurity. This is basically cybersecurity awareness, NIS2, 27001, and so on. And there are different audiences for each of them, and so we have specific videos for some of these countries, and we also have very different languages. There we are also adding various languages. Now, what is important here is that these videos are rather short. So let's say for this remote work, you can actually see the reference here towards various controls. But what is important is that these videos are short. So for example, this one is like what, 4 minutes or so. So we follow this idea of micro-learning there because we don't want to, let's say, to bore people too much. And then what is good here is that you can actually define very clearly the targeted audience and specific videos for them. So you can actually, when you go and set up this new training, first of all, you select a framework. Let's just select this general cybersecurity, so cybersecurity awareness. And then you basically define your target audiences, right? Senior management, security managers, mid-level, I don't know, members of the security committee. So let's say that I want this one. And then I click next, and then you actually select the country and the language. So I can select again a couple of languages here. I click next, and then basically the system automatically suggests the videos that are applicable to this particular target audience. And of course, you can, simply remove some of them. You can, I don't know, change the sequence of these lessons and so on. And let me just scroll quickly there further. And then you can actually define how often you want these lessons to be displayed. So let's say that I want this, these attendees to attend one lesson, not per day, but let's say per week. And that I want them to see this, I don't know, on Wednesdays. And then if I want to repeat this training program, let's say, I don't know, every 2 years. And then when I click continue, then you simply add email addresses of each of these attendees. So you can enter, I don't know, a couple, or you can enter a couple of hundreds, it doesn't matter. And then you can actually define how you're going to test them. Are you going to simply display lessons, or lessons and quizzes, or lessons and quizzes and test questions? Okay. And then you actually activate the program. And what the system will then do, in the sequence that you define there, it actually starts sending these emails, notifications that these people have to go through these videos. And then in the dashboard, you see actually a real-time report on what is happening, what is the pass rate, these kind of things. You see everything in detail. Okay, on top of this, you can also create your own lessons. So you can basically create lessons. Okay, you can create lessons in PDF format or PowerPoints, even though I don't really recommend this, but you can also create lessons in video format. So this is something that you can present as video lessons, and you can create the whole training programs only with your materials. Or you can actually combine your materials with Advisera's videos, and you can actually put everything in one training. So it's really up to you how to organize this. Okay, so I don't want to spend much more time on this now, but we'll send now the link in the chat window. You'll see the link for to open a free demo there. So you can open a free demo, and you can actually test out all of these features that I was showing you now. Okay, going back to my presentation. Good. Now let's move on to the let's go for a conclusion here. And then I'll answer your remaining questions. So basically, as you can see, it's you can rather easily improve your training and awareness. I mean, it won't be perfect, but it will be much better. And such, I would say, better training actually will help you a lot with your overall cybersecurity, and actually you can make this cybersecurity much more successful because you actually have a better training and awareness. And of course, for that purpose, you can also use Advisera's company training academy. And we'll also share now with you a link to a YouTube video which explains also how this company training academy works. So you can open a free demo account, but you can also take a look at this video just to see how it works. If you want someone from our team to show you how this works, you can schedule a call with our training expert, and then they can actually show you all the features if you want to discuss this with someone from our side. So you have several options on how to try this out. Good. Now let's move on to the Q&A session. If you have any questions, please do send them now and I'll go through them. Before I start answering your questions, just a couple of notes. First of all, you can actually contact me directly, and you'll see my email address on the screen now, so you can, if you want, you can use it. Second, you can follow me on LinkedIn and YouTube. So LinkedIn, I publish regularly news related to cybersecurity and governance, this kind of thing. So if you want to kind of keep up to date, you can take a look at my LinkedIn profile. On YouTube, I publish lots of videos around 27001, NIS2, DORA, cybersecurity training, all of these topics. So you can watch these videos there. And I also have this Secure and Simple podcast, which is you can find it on YouTube, but also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And this is a podcast that is specifically made for security officers and for security consultants. So if you want to learn best practices for security officers and consultants, you can take a look at this podcast. Okay, let me also know what is the next webinar. It will be about how to get ongoing consulting revenue from clients. So if you're a consultant, then this is a webinar for you, because I'll explain what kind of continuous jobs consultants actually can perform, and why is this actually financially better business model. And you can see also in the chat window the where to sign up for these upcoming webinars. Okay, now let's see a couple of questions that are coming in. So let me answer them. So a question from Jay that I received earlier for secure training related funding and selecting proper training service providers. Yeah, so I would say the second question, selecting a proper training service provider, you should actually take a look at if it really allows you to kind of match audience with topics. This is very important. Also, if it has this, let's say, techniques that improve if the video is interesting. So if it has this interactivity, if the videos are short, these kind of things. So basically, I would say that these you have to take a look at these elements, and of course you will take a look at the price as well. Secure training related funding. If you mean by this the training funding from your senior management, I believe I already answered the question around how to get the senior management interested. Okay, Trevor is asking, after training we did the phishing email and discovered a limited success. We followed this up with brief email message regarding phishing key indicators. We repeated the phishing email again and saw a 50% improvement. Best training and awareness must look at improving the culture through a journey. Training and awareness continuously repeated. This is actually excellent point. So what I didn't mention in this webinar today is that awareness, especially awareness raising sessions, don't have to be actually made only through, I don't know, videos or in person. You can do it also through some kind of an email newsletter. Okay, this is also one technique. And yeah, sometimes if you, I would say, gently remind people of important facts, this can also have a great impact. So thank you, Trevor, for this. Pablo is asking, are there any specific requirements and competencies that are mandatory for the trainer delivering 27,000 on awareness training? Basically, ISO 27001 says that you need to be competent for whatever you're doing. So if you're a trainer doing a 27000 training, then you need to have at least two competencies. First, you need to know about ISO 27001 in depth. And the second one, you need to have a competence for delivering training, right? So these are the two competencies you need to have if you look at what the standard says. Joanna is asking, does your learning platform also handle things like phishing campaigns? No, this is not, it does not simulate phishing campaigns. It provides only the video materials. Okay, Frankie is asking, can you download the training videos to include in our own LMS? We actually have this for larger clients, so we can export them in a 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗶 format. And if you want to know about details, please get in touch with our sales team, and they will present you how this is done. Okay, good. Richard is Richard is saying that some of our pages are not working. Okay, we'll check this out. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're trying to link. So when we send these links during the webinars, we actually don't use the advisera.com. We use advisera.co and then /something. So you might actually try to use original links that we were sharing during the webinar. Okay, good. Jay saying another option is to do running a simulation, like simulation for phishing. Yes, of course, this is one of the very good options for. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. I think I've gone through all of the questions today. So let me. Yeah. Okay, we'll definitely check out what is happening with these links, but I think that these links should work. In any case, let me wrap up the webinar, and actually you can try to open them a little bit later on. So it might be that the server might not be working for these shorter links. So if you just try to open these links in a couple of minutes, they should be working. Okay, I think I hope that I covered most of your questions, so let's wrap up the webinar. Just a few words before we finish. So as I mentioned, this 1-hour webinar was intended to give you an overview of setting up the training, and not really to go into details of each and every training program. But to learn more about training, you can actually sign up for this free trial of this company training academy. And of course, we'll send you now regarding the presentation deck, if you join the webinar through Zoom, we will send you the email with the link towards this presentation deck in a couple of hours, latest by tomorrow morning. And if you join the webinar through LinkedIn or YouTube, then you will see actually the link to download this presentation deck on the same page where you're watching the webinar now. So if you can just stick on the same page for maybe 10 minutes, in the 10 minutes you will see in a comment section the link to download the presentation deck. And this would be all. Thank you very much for your participation, and I hope you have enjoyed this webinar. Have a nice day.